Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Stephanie. I'm with BDI, and this program is called Planning in an Uncertain World, Building a Game Plan for 2022. For those of you that don't know us, BDI, we are a B2B event marketing agency, specifically for technology brands. And we handle the strategy and the execution of programs that we call Accelerate events. They're very much ABM focused with the thought leadership component, interactivity, networking, and soon we're going to be infusing some experiential. And so we've been very much focused on virtual programs, getting ready to shift to in-person as well, as many marketers are. And so just to kind of share with you guys, we felt called to host today's program, really to create a space for all of the B2B marketers and this community, that's out there. Everybody's kind of in this, do we do in person? Do we do virtual? How do we go about things? So we really wanted to create this space, kind of a short 45-minute format so that we can support each other. And obviously we're all in the same boat. So we definitely want to hear from each other. So just very simply, the agenda, we're going to actually kick off with a fireside chat with Joe Staples, who's our guest speaker. I'll let him introduce himself in just a bit. So we'll have that going for about 15-20 minutes, and then we're actually going to break up the group into smaller breakout rooms, and that's really going to be your opportunity to network, pick each other's brains. We want to hear from you directly, what's worked, what hasn't, maybe some vendors and tips and event format recommendations. So we definitely want to, build from each other's knowledge and experience, and do some sharing. So finally, I'll just share that our goal really is to have you guys walk away from today's conversation feeling inspired with some fresh new ideas that you can infuse into your event strategy. And hopefully you'll meet some cool new folks along the way. So feel free to also share your LinkedIn URLs in the chat. Joe, let's hear your story. Let's introduce yourself to the group, share a little bit about your background.
So the first thing I want to say is I did not write expert in my title.
We did. Yeah, I did.
I will, just from a background standpoint, and what's relevant here. So I've been a CMO for 20 years. My claim to fame is that Murph and I worked together for 10 of those 20 years. Glad to see him here. But we have done every kind of event you can think of. And some of them have been great, and some of them have been disastrous, and they've been large, and they've been small, and they've been targeted and focused, and they've been things that other people have put on and things that we've put on. So, I think the thing that hopefully I can bring to the conversation is just the experience that we've tried a lot of things, and look forward to sharing some of that insight with you.
Thank you, Joe. Just to kick off, and again, this is more of like a general, bigger message, but for all the marketers that are kind of in this, reflecting, kind of resetting their strategy, starting to think about, not just this final quarter of 2021, but looking into 2022, what general message do you want to share with the group? Just given your experience and, just word from the wise.
So my suggestion would be that you need to be a leader, not a laggard when it comes to events. So you think of the experience that we all had, pre springtime 2020, and we're cruising along, we have all these events planned, and the world gets shut down. And the people that benefited still from an event strategy quickly flipped to online events. Those that were slow to do that were the ones that got caught in the population that said, I don't want to do, I'm not going to another online event. And I think we're now at that same point. The people who will be the primary benefactors to a good solid event strategy will be the ones that push a little bit more toward in-person events. All of a sudden, people they're gonna want to come to these, but they get overwhelmed. They can only go to so many. So I would suggests that you be at the forefront of trying to do those things. And I think, if you take some things into account and look at what you can do, there's ways to make those in-person events work right now. Location is probably one of the biggest ones. Don't pick a hot spot where the virus is really going crazy, or where state government has really locked things down. Look for some of those other locations where you go, yeah, it's a good market for us, and things seem to be eased there. Let's go there. But I think the underlying message is try and be at the forefront, not taking a laggard position.
Amazing. Yeah, and Joe, from your, I guess maybe the recent kind of brand that you were with, Motivosity, I know that when we were prepping for this, you kind of shared a fun kind of different event format. Maybe if you want to share a little bit of, successes, like what's worked in terms of in-person, now kind of post-COVID or post-pandemic.
Yeah, or pre-post, right?
Yeah.
I think the important thing is, as a marketer, you're looking at your events budget and you're saying, what should I do with this? Should I take it to zero and take that money and go put it in, a digital marketing channel or somewhere else? And my suggestion would be, you still need the same kind of mix that you've always needed. And you just have to get creative with the events that you do. Stephanie, I sent you a slide. If you could pop that up, I'll just show you one of the things that we did at Motivosity, and it's still going strong. So pickleball is, somebody told me it's the fastest growing sport in the country. And depending on where you live, I think it's probably faster growing than other places. But this actually wasn't even my idea. But a team member came to me and said, how about if we go to this site? There's, I think, 30 pickleball courts there, and we'll do an every other week networking event. And I thought, sure. Yeah, let's do that. And you and me and the two other people that come will have a good time. We've probably been doing this for, and Motivosity still doing it, probably for a couple of years, and 75 to 80 people come every other week for this. And I think if I look at the ingredients of it, one is it plays against the pandemic, which says, pack everybody in a room. This says, no, let's go be outside and do some things that are active. It drafts on the popularity of pickleball. It's unique. It's not something that somebody else has done. And then from a format standpoint, it works great. We spend time with people probably for an hour to an hour and a half. We break the games and stop the games and have everybody come together to do a little 5 to 10 minute networking. We get sponsors that'll give some things away. But I think this is, you could do all kinds of different things, but I think this is the example of, don't take your traditional event strategy and say, well, let's just keep doing that. Even though the pandemic has thrown a wrench in a lot of those things, it's taking the money that you have for events and saying, well, what else could we do? How could we still have an event component to our marketing strategy, but do it in a way that's going to succeed, given what we're going through right now?
Right. Yeah, and I know that in conversations with, even some of our clients that have gone out and tried to experiment with other formats, there's like, this is more of a fun, social, right? Less on the business side, would you say, Joe? less on like that content?
Yeah, but we certainly don't make it, we don't educate people a real lot, but we also don't make this just come play pickleball.
Mhm.
So we talk about, we have all 75 of these people introduce themselves very quickly in a video that we then post on a LinkedIn channel.
Mhm.
But we also ask, is anybody looking for a job? Raise your hand and tell us what you do. And so we looked for, kind of those opportunities to to network on a, with a purpose.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I see AJ said pickleball's blowing up. I have a hard time getting tennis courts right now. So for our audience, if anybody feels, that they want to share an idea, fun, creative format that maybe you've experimented with, you're welcome to jump in now, or, again, we'll talk about it in our breakout rooms. Let me go
And
ahead
Steph, let me tell
yeah.
you, pickleball is not, it's not foolproof. Like everybody, you shouldn't run out and do pickleball networking. We did a pickleball networking event in Indianapolis. 0 people came.
Yeah. Right.
And I think it was probably too early, and people in Indy were wondering what the heck pickleball was. So,
Yeah.
but so pickleball isn't the point. The point is get creative in your event strategy. Instead of saying, oh, we used to, host a weekly webinar and we used to do a monthly in-person event. If people are webinared out, certainly, and those in-person events, you need to look at different formats and different things that will attract them. I think the creativity part is really the main message there.
And so, Joe, so again, that's, for those that are willing to experiment with the in-persons and, more of like on a local level. What about for those marketers that are really just saying, hey, we need to stick to virtual. Our leadership team is saying we need to stick to virtual for the rest of the year. And really that's the way forward for them, right? So in the digital environment, what do you recommend, or what are some thoughts in terms of differentiating between just a general webinar and something that is interactive, that is going to leave a great impression, that's really going to drive some new growth for the team?
Yeah, and Steve is an expert at this as well. What people aren't looking for is just another traditional webinar. They got their overdose of that during 2020. So if it looks and tastes and smells different than a traditional webinar, I think that goes to attract a lot more people. So this is, using breakout rooms that Zoom has, using polls, doing some primary research, and then saying that you're coming together in a virtual event to share the results of this primary research. Getting creative with panels, using those virtual events to slice up video clips, and instead of trying to get somebody to come to a 45-minute event, slicing it up and getting them to consume 3 and 4 minute snippets that show a really powerful point. So I think virtual is, certainly has to be part of what we do as marketers right now, but it's the same thing as those live events, which is get creative in the way you promote them and package them up. And you have to show that up front. So someone shouldn't arrive at your event and then be surprised by all of these things. You should use all of these things in the way you promote it. And I think marketers are smart when they kind of fly right in the face of webinars and tell people, this is not another webinar. This is different. This is, come up with your own creative name, but call it what you will, but then share with them why it's different. What kinds of things you're going to do that would be attractive to them.
Thank you, Joe. I just want to draw attention to AJ's comment here. So do you have any success where the attendees can bring their families or significant others? And so this is, perhaps for you, Joe, or even for the audience, before we transition into the smaller groups where we can chat a little bit more in detail. Wonder if anybody's experimented with
from
that.
I don't. I haven't seen anybody do that successfully. I don't know if anybody else does. Steph, one other point on these virtual events is, every marketer, one of the challenges is creating content, and these virtual events, and we've even done them in a hybrid format where we've videotaped a live event and then taken the video, I guess I should leave tape out of it, taken the video and repurposed that into online content. I think it turns out to be something that you can really leverage if you use video well in capturing these things, and then some nice editing to carve things up into bite-sized chunks. And then what you do is you go out and promote, just that single topic, and they're in much more consumable time segments.
Excellent. Thanks, Joe.